The sky above Zithera burned in streaks of orange and violet as the sun dipped below jagged mountains. Dust swirled around the small human exploration unit as they moved carefully across the rocky terrain. Marcus, the human warrior leading the team, scanned the horizon with sharp eyes. His uniform was scratched and dust-covered, but his stance remained steady and confident. Every step he took radiated caution, skill, and the kind of calm determination that came only from experience. Zithera was no ordinary planet. Its atmosphere shimmered with energy, and the land itself seemed alive with tension. Marcus had heard tales from veteran soldiers. Entire armies had been swallowed by its shifting sands, never to be seen again. Yet, he moved forward, guided by a mix of duty and curiosity. Humans had come to Zithera not just to explore, but to understand the alien civilizations that thrived here. And Marcus had been chosen for this mission because of his unique skill set, resourceful, brave, and always thinking 2 steps ahead. He paused on a ridge, his gaze fixed on a distant movement. At first it was a blur, but then it sharpened, a figure descending the slope with unmatched speed and grace. She was unmistakably alien, slender and tall, with skin that shimmered under the fading light. Her armor glinted metallic blue, perfectly molded to her body, and her long hair flowed behind her as she ran. Marcus's instincts told him she was important, perhaps even royalty. His unit froze, sensing the aura of power radiating from her. The figure landed with a precision that made even Marcus's seasoned eyes widen. She raised her chin and surveyed him and his team. Her expression was sharp, almost mocking, and her eyes gleamed with confidence and challenge. Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline but did not flinch. He had faced powerful opponents before, but something about her presence made the air feel heavier, as if the planet itself recognized her authority. "Humans," she said, her voice clear and confident, almost musical. "You dare to walk on Zithera as if it belongs to you?" Marcus stepped forward, his hands relaxed but ready. "We do not wish for conflict," he replied evenly. "We are explorers, not invaders." The alien laughed, a sound that rang like crystal against stone. She raised a sleek weapon, a long spear of unknown alloy, and twirled it expertly between her fingers. "Explorers or spies? Perhaps you are both. Show me your strength, human. Let us see if you deserve to stand on my land." Marcus glanced at his team. They were tense but trusted him completely. He knew he could not call for reinforcements. This encounter was his responsibility alone. He nodded subtly and prepared himself. He had trained for years for moments like this, though nothing in his past had prepared him for facing someone who moved like a living storm. The alien warrior lunged first. She moved with impossible speed, her spear cutting arcs through the air with lethal precision. Marcus dodged instinctively, rolling to the side and narrowly avoiding a strike that would have left him wounded. Dust exploded around him as his boots hit the ground, his heart racing but mind calm. Every movement had to be calculated. One wrong step, and he would be defeated instantly. She laughed again, this time with a hint of irritation. "You survive longer than I expected," she said, "but you are no match for me." Her attacks became more aggressive, faster, and more unpredictable. Marcus dodged and blocked, using his knowledge of human combat tactics to anticipate her moves. He was slower, yes, but every motion was deliberate, conserving energy and finding openings. Minutes stretched as they moved across the ridge, a dance of skill and strength. Dust rose in clouds, catching the dying sunlight and making the scene almost surreal. The alien warrior's eyes widened once, just slightly, when Marcus sidestepped a sweeping attack and pushed forward, landing a light but firm strike against her armor. It was enough to stagger her, and she took a step back, reassessing him. "You are not like the others," she admitted, her tone sharp but curious. "Most humans are weak, untrained, foolish. You survive." Marcus straightened, breathing, controlled. "Strength is not always about size or speed," he said. "It is about strategy, understanding, and courage." He paused. "And sometimes it is about respect for your opponent." Her eyes narrowed. She did not expect a human to speak so boldly, to challenge her not just with action, but with words. For a moment, the mocking light in her eyes softened, replaced by something like intrigue. Marcus sensed it but did not let his guard down. He knew this battle was about more than physical skill. It was a test of character. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. Dust and small rocks skittered down the slope. Marcus instinctively braced himself, scanning the horizon for danger. From a distance, shadows moved, other figures approaching fast. Marcus did not recognize them, but he knew enough to realize this was no ordinary encounter. The alien warrior paused, her spear lowering slightly, as if she too sensed the shift. In the air, "You fight well, human," she said, her voice quieter now, "but this is not over." She stepped back, disappearing into the shadows with astonishing speed before he could react further. Marcus's pulse slowed, but his focus did not waver. He turned to his team. "Stay alert," he ordered. This was only the beginning. Someone or something just arrived, and it isn't friendly. The team moved cautiously, following him across the ridge toward a narrow valley. As they descended, Marcus thought about the alien warrior. Her strength, her speed, her precision. It was unlike anything he had seen. And yet, despite the mocking tone, he could not shake the feeling that there was more to her than mere arrogance. Something about her presence felt personal, almost familiar in a way he could not yet understand. The valley opened up to a massive structure carved into the cliffs, a palace unlike any human architecture. Towers spiraled into the sky, and the walls glimmered as if infused with energy. Marcus felt a shiver run down his spine. The alien he had faced was clearly not alone. This place radiated power and history, and whoever resided here held influence beyond imagination. Before the team could advance further, a voice boomed across the valley, commanding and regal. "Lyria, step away from the intruders." The voice was strong, warm, yet filled with authority. Marcus and his team froze. From the palace balcony emerged a figure that dwarfed even the alien warrior in presence. Her armor shimmered in regal gold, and her stance was perfect, commanding attention without effort. It was clear she was royalty, someone whose word could command armies and change the fate of nations. The alien warrior, Lyria, halted immediately. She bowed slightly, not in submission, but in recognition of a higher authority. Her eyes widened, and Marcus realized this must be her mother, Queen Seraphine, a figure spoken of in hushed tones across Zithera. "Mother," Lyria said, her voice carrying tension. "He is just a human. I am testing him." "Enough," Queen Seraphine interrupted, her voice like steel wrapped in silk. "He is more than a human, Lyria, and your assumptions may be wrong." Marcus took a cautious step forward, sensing the tension but also the importance of what was about to unfold. He had no idea how this confrontation might change everything, not just for him, but for the young princess standing before him. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the valley, as if the planet itself waited for the next move. Marcus tightened his stance, ready for anything. Whatever secrets the queen held, whatever truth was coming, he knew this was not the end of the encounter. It was the very beginning of something far larger, something that might challenge everything. He knew about humans, aliens, and the bonds that connected them all. The valley was silent except for the faint hum of energy radiating from the palace. Marcus felt a strange tension in the air, heavier than any battlefield he had faced. Lyria stood rigid, her spear held loosely, her mind racing. The queen's words, "He is more than a human," had unsettled her in ways she could not understand. She had never questioned her own assumptions, never doubted what she believed about humans. Yet the calm, steady gaze of Marcus now seemed to pierce through the walls of arrogance she had built around herself. Queen Seraphine stepped forward, her long cloak flowing behind her, glinting gold in the fading sunlight. Her presence was overwhelming, yet there was warmth in her eyes, a hint of something personal that even Lyria could feel. She looked directly at Marcus, studying him with a mixture of curiosity and recognition that he could not place. "Human," the queen began, her voice commanding every ear in the valley. You have shown strength, courage, and honor beyond what is expected of your kind. But there is something more, something you must understand before this day ends. Marcus bowed slightly, a gesture of respect he had learned was universal, even among species he barely understood. I am ready to listen, he said simply. He did not know what the Queen knew, but instinct told him that it was important, perhaps life-changing. The Queen's eyes softened as she turned her attention to Lyria. Daughter, she said, her voice carrying a weight that silenced all other thoughts. You have faced many battles and tested many warriors, but sometimes the greatest battles are not fought with weapons. Today, you face one of those battles. Lyria's grip tightened on her spear. She did not understand. What battle? What was the Queen implying? She opened her mouth to speak, but the words stuck in her throat. The Queen's gaze was not judgmental. It was heavy with truth, and that truth unsettled Lyria more than any enemy ever could. Queen Seraphine took a deep breath and spoke slowly, each word deliberate. Marcus, you are not just a warrior. You are connected to this family in ways Lyria cannot yet comprehend. Marcus blinked, uncertainty flickering across his face. He had fought alien armies, navigated deadly terrains, and survived situations that would have destroyed others. Yet he felt a weight in those words, heavier than any armor, sharper than any blade. Mother, what do you mean? Lyria asked, her voice a mixture of suspicion and confusion. I do not understand. He is human, yes, but he cannot. He is your father, Queen Seraphine said simply, cutting through the air like a sword. Your father, Lyria. The words hit Lyria like a shockwave. For a moment time seemed to freeze. Her eyes widened and her mouth fell open. She stared at Marcus, then at her mother, then back at Marcus. Her spear wavered in her grip as if the very reality around her had shifted. Marcus felt his heart skip, a beat. He had faced impossible odds and unimaginable enemies, but he had never expected this. Father? The word echoed in his mind, blending confusion, disbelief, and a flicker of recognition he could not yet name. Lyria's legs trembled slightly. That is impossible, she stammered. You? My father? How could it be? Queen, Seraphine stepped closer, her hand resting gently on Lyria's shoulder. It is the truth. Years ago, during the evacuation of your home planet, circumstances separated your father from us. He did not know you survived, and you did not know him. But the blood, the connection, is real. Marcus swallowed hard, trying to process what he had just heard. He remembered fragments from years ago, the evacuation, the chaos, the screams, the decisions he had made to protect those he loved. He had not known if Lyria had survived. He had not known if he would ever see her again. And yet here she stood, alive, formidable, and unaware that the human she had mocked with all her strength was the father she had never known. Lyria's mind raced. Every interaction she had just experienced, the mocking, the combat, the defiance, took on a new perspective. Could it be true? Was this human who had surprised her with skill and courage really her father? Her heart pounded, a mixture of anger, confusion, and a strange pull she could not explain. You lie, she finally shouted, stepping back, her spear rising again. This is some trick. Humans do not, cannot. Lyria, Queen Seraphine said firmly. He speaks the truth. Look at him. See the honor, the courage, the strength. These are not traits of a stranger. These are traits of family, traits of your father. Marcus took a cautious step forward. Princess. Lyria, I know this is difficult. I cannot imagine how confusing this must be. But I promise, every word your mother says is true. I am your father. The word hung in the air between them. Lyria's spear wavered, then slowly lowered as the emotional storm inside her grew. She did not trust the human, not yet. But she could not deny the strange familiarity in his eyes, the way his movements mirrored instincts she had inherited. She wanted to run, to fight, to mock again, but her body betrayed her, frozen in disbelief. Queen Seraphine observed quietly, giving her daughter the space to process the truth. "Lyria," she said gently, "it is not weakness to feel. It is not shame to question. But you must see the truth. He is yours. He has always been yours, even if the universe tried to separate you." Marcus nodded, keeping his distance but allowing his presence to be steady and calm. He had faced countless battles, yet he understood that this moment was different. This was not a battle of strength or skill. It was a battle of trust, of understanding, and of the bond that connected them across years and worlds. Lyria's hands trembled slightly as she lowered her spear fully. Her mind raced with questions. Why had he been gone? How had he survived? Why now? Why here? And yet, beneath the chaos of her thoughts, a small, undeniable spark flickered. Recognition. Something in her soul knew this was true. "Prove it," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Prove that you are my father." Marcus exhaled slowly, relief mixing with determination. He took a step closer and, with deliberate care, extended his hand. "I will, Lyria. Not with words alone, but with actions. I will show you who I am and that the bond we share is real." Queen Seraphine nodded, satisfied. "Actions will speak louder than doubt," she said. "But remember, Lyria, trust is built slowly. You will have questions and you will have doubts. That is natural, but do not let pride blind you from what is real." Lyria looked at Marcus, then at her mother, then back at Marcus. Her eyes narrowed, searching, testing. Finally, she took a cautious step forward, though she did not take his hand. "You have a lot to explain," she said, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. "And I do not know if I can believe everything yet. But I will listen." Marcus nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "I will explain everything," he said. "The evacuation, the separation, why I could not be there. Everything you need to know I will tell you, and then if you choose, you will decide what this means for you and for us." The valley seemed quieter now, the tension lingering but softened by the possibility of understanding. Dust swirled around them as if the planet itself waited for the fragile bond between human and princess to form. For the first time, Lyria allowed herself to feel the strange, confusing connection she could not yet name. Anger mixed with curiosity, pride mixed with wonder, and disbelief mixed with the faintest hint of hope. Marcus, for his part, felt a cautious optimism as he realized that the first step toward reconciling with his daughter had begun. Queen Seraphine watched silently from the balcony, her expression unreadable but her heart steady. She knew that the path ahead would not be easy. Trust would need to be earned, doubts would need to be addressed, and enemies would not wait for families to reconcile. But for now, the first step had been taken. A father and his daughter had recognized each other, and in that recognition hope was born. Marcus and Lyria stood facing each other in the valley, two warriors separated by species and time, yet connected by blood and fate. Around them, the alien world of Zithra hummed and shimmered, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. And in that quiet, tense moment, both human and princess knew that life would never be the same again. The valley was quiet now, but the air felt thick with anticipation. Marcus and Lyria stood facing each other, each step toward understanding feeling heavier than any battlefield Marcus had crossed. Lyria's spear rested at her side, but her eyes never left his face. There was still suspicion, pride, and confusion etched in every line of her expression. Marcus, meanwhile, remained calm, the steady presence of a soldier who had survived countless impossible situations. Queen Seraphine watched from the balcony, her golden cloak flowing in the wind, a silent guardian and guide. She understood that the first acknowledgement had been made, but she also knew that actions, not words, would truly forge their bond. Trust was fragile, and Lyria's heart was fierce. "Father," Lyria said at last, her voice barely above a whisper. The word felt foreign on her tongue, and she said it only once, almost as a test. If what you say is true, then why were you gone? Why didn't you come for me? Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of years pressing down on him. He knew that no explanation could fully erase the years lost, but he also knew honesty was the only path forward. Lyria, I tried to reach you, I truly did. During the evacuation, everything fell apart. Ships were destroyed, communications were cut, and I had to make choices that haunted me every day since. I did not know you survived. I did not know how to find you. I can only hope that now we can begin again. Lyria's eyes filled with a mix of anger and confusion. She had spent her life believing her father was gone, that humans were unreliable and weak. And yet standing before her was someone who had fought with skill and courage unlike any other human she had met. Her heart raced, not with fear but with an unfamiliar pull she could not explain. You fought well against me, she said, her voice quieter now, almost reluctant. Even though you did not know who I was. Even though you had no reason to protect me or care for me, that is not how humans usually act. Marcus allowed himself a faint smile. Perhaps you have underestimated us, he said. Or perhaps you have not met the right ones. His eyes softened as he looked at her. I may be human, but I am also your father, and I will protect you, no matter what. Lyria's grip on her spear loosened slightly. She wanted to reject his words, to deny the possibility, but there was something in the way he carried himself, calm, strong, unwavering, that made it impossible to completely dismiss. She felt a stirring deep within her, a connection she had never felt before. Queen Seraphine stepped down from the balcony, her presence commanding yet gentle. There is little time for explanations alone, she said. Danger approaches, and if you are to understand each other, you must face it together. Marcus glanced toward the horizon. Dust clouds were forming, moving fast. Scouts from rival factions of Zithra's warring clans were advancing toward the palace. Their intent was clear, to capture the royal family, or eliminate them if resistance was met. Marcus's team moved quickly, positioning themselves around the valley to create a defensive line. Lyria's eyes widened. She had faced enemy forces countless times, but the idea that her father, this human, was not only standing with her but preparing to fight alongside her stirred something she did not expect. Hope. Father, she said again, the word feeling, slightly more natural. You will fight with me? Marcus nodded, adjusting the weapon strapped to his back. I will, side by side. If you fall, I fall. We survive together. The ground trembled as the first wave of enemy scouts arrived. Alien warriors with armor dark as night and weapons that glowed with deadly energy moved swiftly across the valley. Lyria raised her spear, energy crackling along its edge, and Marcus drew his own weapon, a hybrid of human and alien technology, efficient and lethal. The first clash was chaotic. Dust, sparks, and energy beams filled the air. Marcus fought with precision, his movements a blend of human training and quick adaptation to alien combat techniques. Lyria was a whirlwind, her spear slicing and thrusting with grace and power. Side by side they moved almost instinctively, Marcus covering her blind spots, Lyria anticipating attacks before they arrived. Queen Seraphine watched silently, a proud yet cautious smile crossing her face. She had raised Lyria to be strong and independent, but she also understood that strength alone was not enough. Today Marcus would show his daughter that trust, skill, and courage could bridge worlds. Minutes stretched into tense hours. Each attack from the enemy was met with strategic defense and counterattacks. Marcus noticed Lyria's eyes occasionally flick toward him, searching for guidance, for confirmation. And he provided it without hesitation, a quiet anchor in the chaos. At one point, a powerful blast from an enemy weapon sent Lyria stumbling backward. Marcus was there instantly, catching her with steady hands, holding her upright. For a brief moment their eyes met. Neither spoke, yet both understood the unspoken truth. They were no longer merely warrior and opponent. They were father and daughter, connected by blood, facing a world that demanded unity. "Keep moving," Marcus shouted over the din of battle. "We cannot let them surround the palace." Lyria nodded, regaining her stance, spear ready. Together they advanced, cutting through the enemy lines with a synergy that neither had fully expected. Each strike, each maneuver, reinforced the bond slowly forming between them. Trust was being built not with words but with action. As the battle raged, Marcus caught glimpses of his team coordinating with him flawlessly, mirroring the precision and dedication he demanded. The alien scouts, though fierce, began to falter in the face of this combined force. Lyria's astonishment grew with every enemy that fell or retreated. This human, her father, was not only skilled but a leader, guiding them through the chaos with calm authority. Eventually, the last of the enemy scouts retreated, disappearing into the dust clouds. The valley fell silent once more, the echoes of the battle lingering in the air. Lyria lowered her spear, breathing heavily, her eyes wide with a mixture of awe and disbelief. She looked at Marcus, trying to comprehend what had just happened. "You," she began, then paused, searching for the right words. "You really are my father? And I fought beside you." Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. "Yes, Lyria, and I will fight beside you again if I must. You are strong, brave, and smart, but even the strongest need allies and sometimes a father." Lyria's emotions were a storm within her. Pride, relief, amazement, and a faint spark of warmth she had never felt toward any human swirled together. She realized that the human before her, the one she had mocked, challenged, and tested, was not only her father but someone who could protect her, guide her, and perhaps even understand her in ways no one else could. Queen Seraphine approached them once more, her expression calm but proud. "You have done well," she said, her voice carrying over the valley. "But remember, the world is not as simple as this victory. Trust and understanding will take time. Marcus, you have shown her courage and skill, but more importantly, you have begun to show her the bond that was lost. Lyria, do not let pride or fear blind you to what is true." Lyria nodded, still processing the events of the day. She had seen the human in battle, witnessed his skill, his strategy, his courage, and now she had begun to feel the connection that had been missing for years. Marcus looked at her with quiet determination. "We will have time, Lyria. Time to understand, to learn, and to rebuild what was lost. But for now, we must prepare. This world is not done testing us, and there will be more challenges ahead." The valley settled into an uneasy calm, the sun sinking further below the horizon. Dust and debris from the battle lay scattered across the ground, but amidst it all, a new connection had been forged. Father and daughter, human and princess, warrior and heir, together, they had faced the chaos of Zithera and survived. And as night fell, the first stars appearing above, Marcus and Lyria stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. They did not yet fully understand each other, but the first steps had been taken. Trust, respect, and a shared bond were slowly forming, strong, enough to endure the trials ahead. Queen Seraphine watched from above, her eyes reflecting both relief and pride. She knew that this was only the beginning of a journey, one that would challenge them, push them to their limits, and perhaps redefine what it meant to be a family in a universe filled with danger, uncertainty, and the unexpected power of human resilience. For the first time in many years, Marcus allowed himself to hope. Hope that the daughter he had lost could now find him. Hope that the bond they shared could survive the trials of war, distance, and time. And hope that together, human and princess could face whatever Zithera had yet to throw at them. The night was quiet, but Marcus did not sleep. He had fought battles under the stars before, but tonight was different. Tonight, he had stood beside his daughter he had never truly known until now. Lyria sat nearby, her spear resting against the wall of the palace's outer chamber. She was silent, staring out into the dark landscape, her mind clearly restless. Marcus watched her from across the room. The fire from the small braziers cast flickering shadows across her face, revealing the sharp angles of her cheekbones and the storm of emotions in her eyes. Pride, confusion, curiosity, and a hint of something softer, something she had never allowed herself to feel toward him, twisted together in a complicated pattern he did not yet understand. He approached her, slowly, careful not to startle her. "Lyria," he said softly. She did not turn to face him immediately. "You fought well today, I am proud of you." Her eyes flicked toward him, sharp and guarded. "You don't understand," she said. "I've lived my entire life believing humans were unreliable, weak or cruel. And yet, you—" She paused, struggling with her words. "You are nothing like that. You fought, protected, and guided me. You surprised me." Marcus smiled faintly, nodding. "Humans can be many things. Some fail. Some succeed. Some even surpass their limits for those they care about. Today, I fought not just for survival, but for you, because you are my daughter." The word hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Lyria's gaze shifted away from him toward the dark horizon. "My father, all this time, gone, unknown, and yet here. And now you fight beside me. I don't know how to process it." "You will," Marcus said gently. "It takes time. Bonds aren't built in a day. They are forged through actions, choices, and shared experiences. Today we shared one of those experiences. Tomorrow, we will face another, and another after. That, step by step, we learn to understand each other." For a moment, the only sound was the crackling of the fire. Lyria's grip on her spear relaxed slightly. She wanted to argue, to push him away, but a part of her, quiet, persistent, and stubborn, wanted to believe him. She had lived her life on the battlefield, relying on herself alone, and now she faced a new reality. Trusting him would not be easy, but perhaps it was necessary. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "we will face more of them." Marcus nodded. "Yes. They will not stop until the royal family is defeated or until we are gone. But we will not be gone. We will fight, and we will survive." Her eyes met his, searching for any sign of weakness. She found none, only resolve, only a calm determination that had carried him through wars, battles, and impossible situations, and now it extended to her. The next morning, the sun rose over the valley in a wash of gold and orange, revealing the aftermath of yesterday's battle. Dust hung in the air, and the ground was marked with the tracks of troops and machinery. Marcus and Lyria stood at the palace gates surveying the area. Their scouts had returned with news. Enemy forces were regrouping, gathering strength for a larger attack. "They'll be here soon," Marcus said, his eyes narrowing. "And this time, it won't be just scouts. They'll bring their main forces. We need to prepare." Lyria nodded, her hands tightening around her spear. She had seen her father in combat now, witnessed his leadership and strategic thinking, and she could not deny the growing respect, and something deeper that had begun to form. "What do we do?" she asked. "We prepare for defense, but we also prepare for negotiation," Marcus replied. "Sometimes strength alone is not enough. Sometimes survival depends on knowing when to fight and when to talk. We will use both." Queen Seraphine joined them, her presence commanding and reassuring. "Marcus is correct. We must defend the palace, but we must also seek alliances. Zithera is full of factions and not all are against us. We need allies to strengthen our position." Marcus studied the valley, considering the options. He could see potential allies in the distant hills, warriors who had been neutral in the past but might respond to a show of strength and respect. He had faced similar situations on Earth, where diplomacy and strategy often saved more lives than combat alone. "Lyria," he said, "you know these lands better than I do. Which clans can we approach for support?" She thought for a moment, then pointed to a cluster of mountains in the distance. The Draxus clan. They have not joined any war so far. They respect strength, honor, and courage. If we demonstrate all three, they might stand with us. Marcus nodded. Then we must be ready. We leave at first light to meet them. The palace staff moved quickly, preparing supplies and weapons. Marcus oversaw the organization of his team, ensuring that everyone understood their roles. Lyria joined him, her presence calm yet fierce. Together they worked side by side, demonstrating a partnership that was gradually transforming into trust. When the first light of dawn broke, Marcus, Lyria, and a select group of warriors set out toward the Draxus clan's territory. The journey was long, across rugged terrain filled with hazards and potential ambush points. Marcus led the way, his military training evident in every step, every decision. Lyria followed closely, her spear at the ready, scanning for threats, with sharp eyes. As they approached the Draxus clan's stronghold, the mountains loomed larger, their jagged peaks cutting into the sky. Guards appeared at the gates, their expressions wary but respectful. Marcus stepped forward, raising his hand in a gesture of peace. "We come seeking an alliance," he called out. "We are the defenders of the Zathera royal family. We ask for your support against the forces that threaten this land." The Draxus clan's leader emerged, a tall, imposing figure with piercing eyes and intricate armor. He studied Marcus and Lyria carefully, noting the human's calm authority and the princess's fierce presence. "Why should we aid you?" he demanded. "What guarantee do we have that you are not just another weak faction to exploit?" Marcus met his gaze steadily. "I am Marcus, a human warrior. I have fought many battles, and will continue to do so. My daughter, Princess Lyria, is brave, skilled, and deserving of protection. If you stand with us, you will fight alongside honor, not for greed. If you refuse, we will still defend our people. But know this, we are not weak, and we do not yield." Lyria stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "We will not beg. We will not lie. We stand here openly, showing our strength and our resolve. If you choose to join us, you will fight with dignity and purpose. If not, we will face what comes, and we will survive." The Draxus clan leader studied them in silence, then nodded slowly. "Very well," he said. "We will consider your request. But first you must prove your worth in a challenge of skill and strategy. Only then will we lend our strength." Marcus and Lyria exchanged a glance. They both understood that this was more than a test of combat. It was a test of trust, leadership, and the ability to work together. "We accept," Marcus said. "Tell us what is required." The challenge was set, a simulated battlefield designed to test their tactics, coordination, and adaptability. Marcus and Lyria moved as a unit, demonstrating seamless cooperation. Marcus led with strategic insight, anticipating the movements of their opponents while Lyria executed precise and fearless strikes. Their combined skills impressed the Draxus warriors, who watched closely, noting the bond forming between father and daughter. When the exercise concluded, the Draxus clan leader stepped forward again, a rare smile breaking his stern expression. "You have proven yourselves," he said. "Strength, courage, and trust, these are the qualities we honor. We will stand with you." Lyria allowed herself a small smile, her heart lightening. She looked at Marcus, realizing that their partnership was growing into something powerful, not just as warriors, but as family. "Father," she said softly. "Thank you." Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and reassuring. "No, Lyria. Thank you. You are brave, smart, and strong. Together, we are even stronger." As they prepared to return to the palace with their new allies, the sun rose higher, casting light over the mountains and valleys. For the first time in many years, Marcus felt a sense of hope, not just for survival but for connection, understanding, and the possibility of a future where he and Lyria could face the challenges of Zathera together. And as they marched back, side by side, the bond between human and princess grew stronger, a force that no enemy could easily break. The valley was alive with tension as Marcus, Lyria, and the Draxus clan warriors approached the palace gates. Smoke still rose from yesterday's battle, and the scars of war marked the landscape. But now, they were not alone. Allies had joined. Their side, their banners waving proudly in the wind, signaling unity and strength. Lyria rode beside Marcus, her armor gleaming in the morning sun. Her spear rested across her lap, but her hands itched for battle. She had learned much in the past days about trust, strategy, and the unexpected strength that could come from unity. And now she was ready to face the enemy again, not as a lone princess, but as a leader with her father by her side. Marcus watched her carefully. She had grown in ways that impressed him. Her confidence had solidified, tempered by wisdom, and she understood the weight of leadership. Marcus had faced countless battles on Earth, but this war was different. Here, his daughter's life, her people, and the honor of an entire planet hung in the balance. The enemy forces appeared on the horizon, a vast army stretching as far as the eye could see. Their armor was dark, their weapons advanced, and their formations disciplined. They had grown stronger since the last skirmish, but Marcus did not falter. "We hold our ground," Marcus said firmly. "We have allies, we have strategy, and most importantly, we have each other. Today, we fight not just for survival, but for hope, for honor, and for the future of Zithera." Lyria nodded, gripping her spear tightly. She could see the fear in some of the allied soldiers, but she also saw determination. They were not just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for something greater. The battle began with a loud roar as the enemy charged forward. Arrows and energy blasts flew through the air, but Marcus had already positioned the Draxus warriors strategically along the flanks. Lyria moved swiftly, her spear striking with precision, deflecting attacks, and protecting the weaker soldiers behind her. Marcus led the center, using his experience to anticipate enemy movements. He shouted orders, coordinated attacks, and moved with a grace and efficiency that inspired everyone around him. The humans and aliens fought side by side, forming a line of unbreakable defense. Hours passed and the battle raged on. Dust and smoke filled the air, masking the sun and turning the battlefield into a chaotic storm of motion and sound. Lyria found herself facing the enemy commander, a towering figure clad in black armor. The commander swung a massive energy blade, forcing Lyria to jump back just in time. "You are brave, human-born," the commander said, his voice metallic, through his helmet. "But courage alone will not save you." "I don't fight alone," Lyria replied, her voice steady. "I fight with my father, with allies, and with the people who believe in me. And that is stronger than any weapon you carry." She lunged forward, dodging another strike, and landed a swift blow on the commander's armor, causing sparks to fly. Why, the commander staggered, surprised by her skill and determination. Lyria smiled, knowing that she was not just defending herself, she was defending everyone who relied on her. Meanwhile, Marcus faced multiple enemies at once. His experience in battle allowed him to move quickly, deflecting attacks, countering strikes, and protecting those around him. The Draxus warriors flanked him, striking with precision, cutting through the enemy lines. Together, they formed a coordinated force that even the seasoned enemy could not break. The tide of the battle began to turn. The enemy, expecting to crush the palace defenses quickly, now faced organized resistance, strategic strikes, and an unyielding determination. Marcus seized the opportunity. He called out to Lyria and the allied commanders, coordinating a final push to break the enemy's formation. Lyria raised her spear high, signaling the charge. The allied forces moved forward with renewed strength, their morale boosted by the presence of Marcus and Lyria at the forefront. Together they pushed the enemy back, forcing them to retreat, step by step. The enemy commander, wounded and frustrated, faced Lyria one last time. He swung his blade with all his strength, but Lyria anticipated the strike, sidestepping and delivering a decisive blow that disarmed him. The commander fell to the ground, and the remaining enemy forces faltered. Seeing their leader defeated, many of them surrendered or fled. Marcus approached the fallen commander, standing tall and unyielding. "This battle is over," he said, firmly. "You can surrender, or you can leave. But know this, Scythera will not be ruled by fear or oppression. It will be defended by courage, unity, and honor. The commander nodded reluctantly, signaling the retreat of the remaining forces. Silence slowly fell over the battlefield. Broken only by the cheers of the victorious soldiers, Lyria dropped to her knees, exhausted but triumphant. Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder, steadying her. "You did well," Marcus said softly. "You led with courage, strength, and honor. You protected your people, and you inspired them to fight with everything they had. I am proud of you, Lyria." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with gratitude and respect. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied. "You taught me more than I could have learned on my own. You showed me that strength is not just about fighting, it's about trust, strategy, and standing together." Queen Seraphine arrived at the battlefield, her presence commanding. She surveyed the victorious forces, then turned to Marcus and Lyria. "You have saved Scythera," she said. "Your courage, leadership, and unity have ensured the survival of our people. You have proven that strength comes from more than weapons. It comes from honor, loyalty, and the bonds we share." Lyria smiled, feeling a sense of accomplishment she had never known. The battlefield was a mess of smoke, dust, and debris, but she saw hope in the faces of her people, her allies, and her father. For the first time, she felt truly connected, not just as a princess, but as a leader, a daughter, and a fighter who had earned respect through her actions. Marcus surveyed the battlefield, noting the resilience of Scythera's people. He had seen countless wars on Earth, but this victory was different. It was personal. It was about family, trust, and the unexpected alliances that had formed through courage and determination. As the sun set over the valley, painting the sky with gold and crimson, Marcus and Lyria stood together on a hill overlooking the battlefield. Soldiers and allies celebrated below, their cheers echoing through the valley. The enemies had been defeated, and the palace was safe, for now. Lyria turned to Marcus. "Father, what happens next?" Marcus smiled. "Next, we rebuild. We strengthen alliances. We prepare for whatever comes. But most importantly, we continue to grow, not just as warriors, but as a family. Today we fought together. Tomorrow we live together, and we protect what we have earned." She nodded, feeling a sense of peace she had never known. "I am ready," she said. "Ready to lead, ready to fight, ready to protect my people, and ready to stand with you." Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder, feeling the bond between them strengthen even more. "And I am ready to stand with you," he said. "Always." The stars began to appear in the night sky, twinkling above the valley. Lyria and Marcus looked up, knowing that the battles they had faced were only part of the journey. Together, they would face the challenges of the future with courage, honor, and unity. And as the winds of Scythera whispered through the mountains, carrying the voices of allies and citizens alike, Marcus realized something profound. The greatest strength of all was not in weapons, strategies, or battles. It was in connection, in trust, loyalty, and love. Lyria, standing beside him, understood. This too, she had faced fear, uncertainty, and war. But through it all, she had learned that courage was more than physical strength. It was standing for what was right, fighting for those who could not fight for themselves, and trusting in those who had proven themselves worthy. As night fully settled over the valley, the palace gates opened once again, not in fear but in triumph. Scythera was safe, its people inspired, and a human warrior had shown that even in the farthest corners of the galaxy, courage and honor could change destinies. Marcus looked at Lyria one last time before they descended the hill. "You have done well, Princess, but more importantly, you have done what many cannot. You have led with heart." She smiled, her eyes reflecting both exhaustion and pride. "And you, Father, have shown me what it means to truly protect, guide, and fight for what matters." Together, they walked down to the celebrating crowd, ready to face the future, not just as warrior and princess, but as family, allies, and protectors of a world that had been given a second chance. The stars above seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as if recognizing the bond between human and alien, father and daughter, warrior and princess. And in that light, Marcus and Lyria knew one truth above all. The galaxy was vast, challenges were endless, but